All praises to the highest. First and foremost, we're going to start off by giving all praises to the highest.
Right.
All glory, all honor in the name of his only begotten Son, Jesus the Christ.
Fact.
Secondly, we're going to give double honors to our elders. Our elders rule well. They're counted worthy of double honors. They get their double honors.
That's right.
Thirdly, I want to say to all of my brothers, all of my sisters out there, Shabbat Shalom and greetings. My name is Priest Lithiel Ben Israel.
And my name is Priest Ron Ben Israel.
And we are with the holy nation of Israel, the straight gate of Israel. And we're back again with another class, another topic, another lesson. But before we proceed, I want everybody out there, get your Bibles with the Apocrypha included and read along with us if you can. Also, get your notebooks, get your pens, get your papers, get your pencils, and take notes if it is in your spirit. Lord's willing, this will be an edifying lesson that I am going to entitle War, Israel and Hamas. Hey, go down real quick. Go all the way down. No, on the other side. Oh, my fellas. Is that all of it? The other side. Yeah, the other side. Yeah, right there. You see where it says the beginning? Second to the last row, right there. Click that one. All praises, all praises. Now, with that, let's open up in Matthew 24 and 6.
The book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6.
Read.
And ye shall hear of wars.
And ye shall hear of wars.
And rumors of wars.
And rumors of wars. Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Read.
See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass.
These things must come to pass. Read.
But the end is not yet.
But the end is not yet. The end is not yet. You are going to hear wars and rumors of wars, yo. We're here to talk about war in this class. Specifically, the war between Israel and Hamas. Just earlier last week, Israel declared war with Hamas, yo. With the Palestinians. And I've seen a lot of brothers teaching about this war. And they've been excited, man. Been excited. Excited, thinking to themselves and teaching that this is the end. Well, brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you the same thing that Christ told you. You're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. Don't be troubled. These things must come to pass. But the end is not yet, yo. I don't care what anybody's telling you. The end is not yet. Now, with all that being said, give me my first folder. Let's go in. Let's talk about the Israeli and Hamas war here. Let me know when we're straight. All right, read that for me.
Israel formally declares war against Hamas as it battles to push militants off its soil.
As it battles to push militants off its soil. The Israelis claiming Israel's soil to be theirs. It's funny. Go over. Go over. Hey, enlarge this. Read that.
Jerusalem and Gaza, CNN. Israel has formally declared war on Hamas, setting the stage for a major military operation in Gaza as fighting continues to rage on Israeli soil.
Read.
Tanks and personnel carriers could be seen on the move near the Israel-Gaza border on Sunday.
On Sunday. This is talking about last Sunday, right?
After Hamas and
Islamist militant group
launched in
unprecedented
and highly
coordinated
surprise assault this weekend that has so far killed over 700 Israelis.
It was talking about the weekend of October 7th, 2023. That's what it was talking about. Read.
Saturday was the deadliest day in decades for Israel and came after months of surging violence between Palestinians and Israelis.
In this class, we're going to talk about the Palestinians and the Israelis. Who they are. Who they be according to the Bible, yo. Real talk, read.
With the long-running conflict now heading into uncharted and dangerous new territory.
Read.
Questions remain over how the Israeli military and intelligence apparatus appeared to be caught off guard in one of the country's worst security failures.
You know why there's questions? You know why there's questions over how the military and intelligence apparatus of Israel was caught off guard? You know why there's questions? There's questions because the Israeli military and intelligence apparatus is among the best in the world, Joe. Among the best in the world. Israel has one of the greatest militaries, most powerful militaries, and one of the greatest intelligence apparatus in the world. So questions like, how did Hamas get past the Israeli intelligence apparatus? I'll let you in on a secret, Joe. Israeli intelligence allowed it, Joe. They allowed Hamas to get past. Real talk. See, Israel, the Israelis, they have a goal. They have a goal bigger than what Hamas can understand, Joe. Real talk. And their goal is complete occupation of the land of Israel, yo. Complete occupation of Israel, including Jerusalem. Including Jerusalem. Because in all actualities, these Israelis, they want to destroy that Dome of the Rock. And they want to build up what they would call the third temple, yo. The third temple. And that's Bible prophecy. Give me that in Daniel 11. Give me that in Daniel chapter 11 and the last verse real quick. Let me get that.
The book of Daniel chapter 11 and verse 45.
Read.
And he shall plant the tabernacles of his place, of his palace, between the seas in the glorious holy mountain.
Between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. The holy mountain of the Lord is Jerusalem, yo. Give me that in chapter 9 and verse 16. Chapter 9 and verse 16 real quick.
The book of Daniel chapter 9 and verse 16.
Uh-huh.
O Lord, according to all thy righteousness,
Read.
I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city Jerusalem, and thy holy mountain.
Thy holy mountain. The holy mountain of the Lord is Jerusalem. That is the holy mountain of the Lord. Finish the verse.
Because for our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and thy people are become a reproach to all that are about us.
Go back to chapter 11 and verse 45 again.
The book of Daniel chapter 11 verse 45. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace.
He's talking about the so-called white man. He shall plant the tabernacles of his palace, not God's palace, his palace. Read.
Between the seas and the glorious holy mountain.
In the glorious holy mountain, Jerusalem. Read.
Yet he shall come to his end.
And from that point, he's going to come to his end. His end. Read.
And none shall help him.
And none shall help him. Read.
The book of Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1.
Remember, when Daniel wrote this was just one long letter. It wasn't no chapters. That was added later, yo. So the thought continues from chapter 11 and verse 45 into Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. Read Daniel 12 and 1.
It's the book of Daniel chapter 12 verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up.
And at that time, what time? At the time that he plants his tabernacles between the seas and the glorious mountain. At that time shall Michael, the archangel, stand up. Read.
The great prince.
The great prince. Read.
Which standeth for the children of thy people.
Which stands for the children of Daniel's people. Which are the Israelite people. Which are God's people. Read.
And there shall be a time of trouble.
And there shall be a time of trouble. Jacob's trouble. Read.
Such as never was since there was a nation.
Read.
Even to that same time.
Read.
And at that time.
And at that time. Read.
Thy people shall be delivered.
God's people. Daniel's people. The Israelite people shall be delivered. Read.
Everyone that shall be found written in the book.
Not all of Daniel's people. Not all of God's people. Not all of the Israelite people. But only the Israelite people that are found written in the Lamb's book of life, yo. This is going to take place when they build their palace between the seas and God's holy mountain. And this ultimately is what they are after, yo. This is what they are after. Complete and total subjugation of the land of Israel. And with that comes what? Jerusalem, yo. Jerusalem. Now let's go back to the article real quick. Because, oh, matter of fact, no, I just thought about something. Give me the one in Psalms, because I ain't put this in my class, where it talks about the heart of every one of them is deep. You know what I'm talking about? Psalm chapter 64, I think. Let me get that, man. Let me get that. Edom is not stupid, yo. Edom is not stupid. Questions arise. How did Hamas get past Israeli intelligence? They allowed it to happen, man. You got that for me?
Yeah.
Read that.
The book of Psalms, chapter 64, verse 6.
Uh-huh.
They search out iniquities.
Talking about Edom. They search out iniquities. Read.
They accomplish a diligent search.
They accomplish a diligent search. Read.
Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep.
The inward thought of every one of them in their heart is deep. Edom, they play 10 steps ahead on the board game, yo. For real. That's how Esau plays. All of the Edomites play like that. That's why I said, oh yeah, Hamas didn't just get past Israeli intelligence. They allowed that thing to happen. because they're planning for much more. They're planning for much, much more. Let's go back to the article real quick. Back to the article. And we're going to read questions again remain over how the Israeli military. Let me know when we straight. We good? Read that.
Questions remain over how the Israeli military and intelligence apparatus appear to be caught off guard in one of the country's worst security failures.
Read.
Hamas claims to be holding over 100 Israeli hostages, including high-ranking officers. But not limited to just high-ranking officers. Those hostages also include women and children. Read. And continue to fire rockets into Israel throughout Sunday.
Throughout Sunday, that was October the 8th, 2023. Read.
Another Palestinian armed group called Islamic Jihad said on Sunday it is holding at least 30 hostages in Gaza.
And among those hostages are women and children. Read.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin
Netanyahu
has vowed retaliation.
He vowed retaliation. Read.
Warning his country would take mighty vengeance.
A mighty vengeance. Read.
And was readying for a long and difficult war.
And they're ready for a long, difficult war. Read.
He urged Palestinians living in Gaza to leave now.
Netanyahu told the Palestinians that are living in Gaza to leave now. But you know what's crazy about it? It's hard for them to leave because, you know, they border Israel. But Israel just shut the borders to the Palestinians over in Gaza. So they're not allowing the Palestinians to come into Israel. And then the craziest part about it is they also border Egypt. But Egypt just said they're not allowing them to come into Egypt. Damn. Real talk. And matter of fact, I'm not just telling you that. We're going to show you that later on in the class, man. We're going to show you that later on in the class with articles. And we're going to show you that later on in the class with Bible prophecy. Real talk. Keep reading.
Over 400 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza as Israel responds with airstrikes in the densely inhabited enclave.
Read the next part. Right there.
Early Sunday, militants from Gaza fired a deadly barrage of rockets and sent gunmen into southern Israeli territory.
And they sent gunmen into southern Israeli territory. Hamas invaded Israel on their southern border. Yo, read.
In one of the deadliest days in decades between the two sides. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed mighty vengeance on Hamas.
Read.
And Israeli forces are battling militants in southern Israel and have been pounding Gaza with airstrikes.
And they've been pounding Gaza with airstrikes. They've been pounding known locations of militants in Gaza with airstrikes. But not only have they been targeting known locations for Hamas militants, they've also been targeting residential areas. Residential neighborhoods. Yo. And it's not me saying this. It's the Palestinians saying this. Go over real quick. These are all the places in which they have been fighting since October 7th of 2023. You look at that box right there, go to the circle of the box, rocket struck Tel Aviv. You see that? Then right there in the box, you got Gaza that's fighting over there. But when you look at all these other places, in Zakim, Yad, Ezrez, whatever, all these places, they've been fighting in these places since October 7th, 2023. Last Saturday. Go over. All right, let me see if I want this. Yes, I do want this. Read that.
Throughout the bloody weekend, Hamas launched thousands of rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israel, making direct hits on multiple locations inside the country, including Tel Aviv. Read. While armed terror groups entered Israel.
While they entered Israel, invaded Israel, read.
And infiltrated military bases. Towns. And farms. Shooting at civilians. And taking hostages.
And among those civilians and hostages, women and children, read.
Photos released by the Israeli Foreign Ministry showed dozens of bodies in the aftermath of a Hamas attack on a music festival near the Israel-Gaza border.
So recently, there was a mass shooting at a music festival near the Israel-Gaza border, read.
Which emergency responders said left at least 260 dead.
And at least 260 people died in that mass shooting at that music festival. Go over. Oh, let me see. Yeah, read that. As Israeli forces just go down. It's got to be zoomed in a little bit. Zoom in a little bit more. Zoom in a little bit more on the screen for me. Let me know whenever we straight. That look good? A little bit more? Go ahead a little bit more. All right, read that.
Hey.
Go back a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
Just a little bit.
But it's good, better. Come in right there and see can you zoom in. Size that up. Way better.
Better? All right, all praises. Read that.
Hey, so you just gotta move it around.
Oh, yeah, you ain't got it. Read that.
As Israeli forces clashed on the ground with Hamas fighters, Israeli airstrikes blasted what is said were Hamas associated locations. The Israel Defense Forces (IDF) said it had struck over 400 targets in the small
enclave,
including 10 towers that it said were used by Hamas and a number of terrorist squads in the area surrounding the Gaza Strip.
So they call the Hamas people terrorists. Anytime you fight for your own freedoms and liberations against white people, you're going to be called a terrorist or an extremist. That's just how the game goes. Read.
Palestinian authorities say 78 children are among the dead.
Damn.
And 2,300 others wounded.
And 2,300 others were wounded. Is there any more down there? Yeah, read that. All right.
According to Netanyahu, Israel's first phase of retaliation has ended with the destruction of the majority of the enemy forces that penetrated our territory.
Hamas, read.
It will be followed by an offensive formation, he said.
Go over, go down. Anything else? Go over. Those are just pictures. I'm good. Go over. Oh, matter of fact, go back. Read that at the top.
Right.
Yeah. No. Enlarge it. And then go up to the top. See where it says his government?
Yeah.
Read that.
His government.
Still. Enlarge it a little bit more. Go up, see what it looks like. Good. Read that.
His government has decided to stop the supply of electricity, fuel, and goods to Gaza.
Damn. Israel, the Israelis have cut off the supply of electricity, fuel, and goods to Gaza, yo. Damn, that is not a good thing for Gaza. At all, yo. You know the problems that comes with loss of electricity, the problems that come with lack of fuel, lack of goods, foods. Wow. Go over. Let's see if I want to read the rest of this. Yeah, I want to read this too. Bring it all the way in. A little bit more. Now scroll down, see what it look like. How that look? Straight? Read that.
Hamas has warned against measures in Gaza, alluding to hostages held in the area. In a recorded audio message...
Oh, matter of fact, read that one more time.
Hamas has warned against measures in Gaza.
Hamas has warned Israel against their measures in Gaza. Read.
Alluding to hostages held in the area.
Telling the Israelis that they have Israeli hostages in the areas in which they are bombing. Yo. And among those Israeli hostages are women and children. They are in those areas in which Israel is bombing. Keep going.
In a recorded audio message Saturday,
Abu Obaya,
spokesman for the Al-Qassam brigades, the armed wing of Hamas, say what happens to the people of the Strip?
What happens to the people of the Gaza Strip?
Of the Gaza Strip, what happened to them, and beware of
miscalculations. So the people of Hamas, they warned the Israelis and they told them, what you do to us on the Gaza Strip, we're going to do to you as well. Yo, that's what they're saying. What you do to us, we're going to do to you as well. Go over. Anything else?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm going to read. It says civilians taken hostage include not only soldiers, but civilians, children, grandmothers. Israeli Defense Forces spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Richard Hesh told briefing on Sunday, we have lost soldiers, we have lost commanders, we have lost a... Go over. Oh, well, that ended, so it doesn't really matter what they lost anyway. Go over. Okay, remember, I told you that Palestinians said that not only are the Israelis bombing known locations of Hamas militants, but they're also bombing in residential neighborhoods, yo. Residential areas. This was what Palestinians have said. Let's watch the video.
It's 1500 GMT.
Hold on, I just thought about something. Pause this. Miniaturize this. Go up. No, back out here. Click on the last at the back, the black one. Click on that. I forgot to bring this out. Enlarge that. Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17, U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So all the videos that we're using is fair use. Let's go back. Folder 1. And we was right there, yep. Yeah, pause it first.
It's 1500 GMT, 6 p.m. in Gaza, where today alone more than 150 people were killed by Israeli airstrikes. More than 1,400 Palestinians have now been killed, including first responders and journalists, and that number is rising fast. Entire neighborhoods have been destroyed. At least 338,000 Palestinians.
Entire neighborhoods have been destroyed. Neighborhoods. Press play.
Been destroyed. At least 338,000 Palestinians have fled their homes and have been forced to take shelter elsewhere. And at least 1,300 Israelis have been killed since Hamas's attack on southern Israel on Saturday. Hundreds of civilians are among the dead. Well, these are the areas that have come under Israeli attack in the past few hours. That includes refugee camps. Israeli airstrikes have also hit the Hamad bin Jassim hospital. Dozens of patients and displaced Palestinians were inside. Now, one airstrike has left a vast crater in the center of the Deir al-Bala neighborhood. A major hospital is nearby and a number of homes in the area have been hit. Israel says it has dropped 6,000 bombs on Gaza so far. Well, similar scenes of chaos and despair in Rafah in the south of Gaza. Israeli strikes have destroyed homes, killing at least 11 people, including women and children. With the number of injuries rising, hospitals are facing severe medical shortages. And there's no sign of aid anytime soon. Israel continues to amass huge numbers of troops and weapons near the border and vows to continue to block all fuel and water to Gaza until Hamas frees Israeli captives. Well, Gimna Saeed begins our coverage from inside Gaza.
The flow of casualties to Gaza's hospitals seemingly never ends. These children are caught up in the middle of Israel's war on Gaza. They're unlikely to understand why this is happening, and they're clearly terrified. Hospitals are running on emergency generators. When the fuel runs out, the lights will go out.
Notice what she said they are terrified, Joe. Give me that in Exodus 14. You can just leave it on the screen. Give me Exodus 14. What is it? Exodus 14, 15. Give me that real quick. Yeah.
The book of Exodus chapter 14 and verse 15. And the Lord said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they go forward.
Hold on one second. Let me make sure that's the right one. I want Exodus chapter 14, 15 and 14. That's what I want.
Exodus chapter 15, verse 14. Mm-hmm. The people shall hear and be afraid.
The people shall hear and be afraid. Read.
Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina.
Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. Palestina is Palestine, yo. It's Palestine. As it was then, so it is again, yo. So it is again. I mean, you know, that's how God's judgments work. The Bible says God's judgments are likened to a ring. meaning it goes around. What goes around comes around. You know what I'm talking about?
What's that universal word, karma?
Karma. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Real talk. So you see these people, they're in fear. They're mourning. Just like the Bible said they would be. Press play.
Will stop working. Kidney dialysis machines will shut down. And x-rays can't.
Listen to what they said is going to happen when the electricity is cut. Don't go too far. Press play.
They're unlikely to understand why this is happening, and they're clearly terrified. Hospitals are running on emergency generators. When the fuel runs out, the lights will go out. The incubators will stop working. Kidney dialysis machines will shut down, and x-rays can't be taken. Spaces are thick with dust from homes that have collapsed, often on top of them without warning. Israel says it is destroying locations used by Hamas, but Gaza is so densely populated that it is almost impossible to separate private homes from where fighters may or may not be hiding. And anyway,
pause it. Go ahead, bro.
Basically, they said they don't care because they said may or may not be hiding.
There you go.
So they said they do not care. They do not care. They're gonna bomb that whole place.
They already told you they're hitting hospitals.
Dang.
Neighborhoods, residential areas.
So,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish saying your point.
So basically, it's like you do if you don't, or you do if you don't.
Oh, you damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
these people have no choice where Hamas decides to operate.
We were sleeping peacefully, and then suddenly my house and my neighbour's house were hit by bombardments. I went outside and I found my children all injured. Then I looked around and I saw dead bodies and body parts and other people injured.
This appears to be Israel's most powerful bombing campaign against Palestinians in the 75-year history of the conflict. Whole neighborhoods have been flattened.
Whole neighborhoods.
For the people trapped here, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to escape. Israel shut its border crossings on Saturday and bombed.
You hear what he just said? You hear what she just said? For the people that live there, there's no escape. Israel closed their border crossings, yo. Press play again. You gotta hear this.
There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to escape. Israel shut its border crossings on Saturday and bombed the one to Egypt.
Pause. Israel closed their border crossings on Saturday and then bombed the border crossing to Egypt, yo. Damn it, man. Press play.
Al Jazeera, Gaza Strip.
Well, let's get the latest on the situation inside Gaza. Jamila Abu Zanuna joins us on the phone from inside.
I don't care about no more of this. Next one. Yeah, right there. Let's see. What is this? What is this? Okay, Hamas. What is Hamas, yo? Is that good? That look good on the screen? All right. I'm actually going to read this real quick. It says, Hamas. Go over. Officially the... Man, yo, bring it back a little bit, man. I ain't worried about it, man. Y'all want to know where it says? Go to Wikipedia. Yeah, bring it back a little bit, because I'm trying to read a little bit faster. I don't want to burn through all my time. Hamas, officially the Islamic Resistance Movement, is a Sunni Islamist political and militant organization currently governing the Gaza Strip of the Palestinian territories. The Palestinian territories are made up of Gaza and the West Bank. Hamas has control over Gaza. It says while it is headquartered in Gaza City, it also has a presence in the West Bank, the larger of the two Palestinian territories, in which Fatah exercises control. Fatah is their political rival, the political rival to Hamas, yo. It says, it is widely considered to be the dominant political force within the Palestinian territories. In 1987, shortly after the outbreak of the first intifada against Israel, Hamas was founded by Palestinian imam and activist Ahmed Yassin. It emerged out of the Mujama al-Islamiyah, also founded by Yassin, which had been established in Gaza in 1973 as a religious charity involved with the Egypt based Muslim Brotherhood. Hamas became increasingly involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by the late 1990s. It opposed the Israel PLO letters of mutual recognition as well as the Oslo Accords. So Hamas opposed the Israel PLO letters of mutual recognition and the Oslo Accords, which Hamas' secular rival Fatah renounced the use of terrorism and acts of other violence and recognized Israel in a two-state solution. And go over so we can see what the PLO is. All right, enlarge this. Yeah, just go over. You good. Scroll over. All right. The Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, was founded in 1964 with the purpose of liberating Palestine, achieving Palestinian self-determination, and securing the return of refugees. It was conceived at an Arab League summit in Cairo, Egypt, and backed the use of armed struggle to achieve its goals. They backed the use of fighting, war, to achieve its goals of liberating Palestine. So the PLO is the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Let's go over. All right, so this is the PLO letters of mutual recognition, yo. Letters of mutual recognition. Slide over a little bit. Minimize it just a little bit. That's good. Slide over. All right, cool. PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat to Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Mr. Prime Minister, the signing of the Declaration of Principles marks a new era in the history of the Middle East. In firm conviction thereof, I would like to confirm the following PLO comments or commitments. The PLO recognizes the right of the State of Israel to exist in peace and security. Peace and security. Peace and safety. And you know what the Bible talks about when they talk about peace and safety? Give me that real quick. You know what I'm talking about? 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. I need that real quick. This ain't in my class, but I just want to put this in here. 1 Thessalonians 5. Peace and safety. What does God say happens when they say peace and safety? Peace and security. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Let's start at 1 and read through 3.
The book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you.
Read.
For yourselves now perfectly that the day.
For yourselves know perfectly.
For yourselves, Salakia, know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night.
Read.
So when they shall say.
When they shall say what?
Peace and safety.
Peace and safety, or peace and security. When they shall say peace and safety, read.
Then sudden destruction cometh upon them.
Then sudden destruction cometh upon them, read.
As travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
And they shall not escape. And that's what you've been saying. Ever since they came together talking peace and security, peace and safety, there's been nothing but destruction in that region, yo. For the Israelis and for the Palestinians. But let's read that again, the first one. The PLO recognizes the right of the State of Israel to exist in peace and security. Second, the PLO accepts the United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 and 338. Third, the PLO commits itself to the Middle East peace process and to a peaceful resolution of the conflict between the two sides, and declares that all outstanding issues relating to permanent status will be resolved through negotiations. Fourth, the PLO considers that the signing of the Declaration of Principles constitutes an historic event, inaugurating a new epoch or time, of peaceful coexistence, free from violence and all other acts which endanger peace and stability. Accordingly, the PLO renounces the use of terrorism. Terrorism, they mean fighting, war for independence or liberation. The PLO renounces the use of terrorism and other acts of violence and will assume responsibility over all PLO elements and personnel in order to assure their compliance, prevent violations, and discipline violators. Go over. Yes, let me see here. Yeah, keep going. Go up, scroll up for me a little bit. Yep, scroll up. Yeah, just a little bit. Matter of fact, no, just just go ahead. Bring it a little bit more. Just a little bit. Matter of fact, don't worry about it. Just Don't worry about it. A little bit more. Forget it. Just go up. And just move over a little bit. There we go. Oh. Is that good? Matter of fact, go over real quick. Alright. It says, yeah, bring it back a little bit. Because I ain't trying to keep doing that, scrolling in and out. Alright, here we go. In view of the promise of a new era in the signing of the Declaration of Principles and based on Palestinian acceptance of Security Council Resolution 242 and 338, the PLO affirms that those articles of the Palestinian covenant which deny Israel's right to exist and the provisions of the covenant which are inconsistent with the commitments of this letter are now inoperative and no longer valid. Consequently, the PLO undertakes to submit to the Palestinian National Council for formal approval the necessary changes in regard to the Palestinian covenant. Sincerely, Yasser Arafat. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin to PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat. He responds, in response to your letter of September 9th, 1993, I wish to confirm to you that in light of the PLO commitments included in your letter, the government of Israel has decided to recognize the PLO as the representative of the Palestinian people and commence negotiations with the PLO within the Middle East peace process. So because the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, sided with Edom to make to come to a two-state resolution for the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians, the Israeli government decided to make the PLO the representative for the Palestinian people. Straight up. Hey, go over real quick. Let's go back to Wikipedia. Let's go back to Wikipedia, zoom in. I'm gonna go back into the second paragraph. Ayo, you see where it says Hamas became
increasingly involved.
Yeah, you see where it says that? Go down, right there. Hamas, you see where this is where we're starting at right here. It says Hamas became increasingly involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by the late 1990s. It opposed the Israel PLO letters of mutual recognition as well as the Oslo Accords, which saw Hamas' secular rival Fatah renounce the use of terrorism and other acts of violence, meaning they renounced fighting and war for their own liberation. That's what it's really saying. And recognize Israel in pursuit of a two-state solution. A two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That's what they were looking for. A two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Hamas continued to advocate Palestinian armed resistance to end the Israeli occupation. So Hamas, they said they want to continue to fight. They want to continue to war for their liberation, for their independence. Real talk. Hamas won the 2006 Palestinian legislative election, gaining a majority in the Palestinian Legislative Council, and subsequently took control of Gaza Strip from Fatah in 2007. So since 2007, the Hamas has had control of the Gaza Strip. Let me see, is there anything else I want to read? Yep, since 2007, Hamas has fought several wars with Israel. It historically sought an Islamic Palestinian state over the combined territory of Israel, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, rejecting the two-state solution in negotiations with Israel. So they reject the two-state solution. Let's go over. Let's play this video. Pause it. Lower the volume for me. Yeah, go down to the bottom of the screen. Right there. Lower the volume for me. A little bit more, Steve. A little bit more. A little bit more. Take it past the 40s. That's good. Alright, bring it back. And press play. It says, Hamas is an Islamic... Oh, you don't have to pause. I'll just read it. Hamas is an Islamic political and militant organization that controls the Gaza Strip. It'll go off, I think. It says, the group was founded in 1987 and is a spin-off of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood. The Palestinian faction's founder, cleric Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, was assassinated in 2004. Hamas performed well in elections in 2006 but struggled for control with rival Palestinian faction Fatah. In 2007, after a brief war with Fatah forces, Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip. Hamas does not recognize Israel as a legitimate state and backs armed resistance against it. Both the United States and the European Union considers Hamas a terrorist organization. Anytime you fight for your freedoms against them, they will consider you a terrorist. They will consider you an extremist. Let's go over.
Hey, they would never consider you a revolutionist.
No, they won't. Unless you look like them. You know what I'm talking about? Hey, so who are the Palestinians? Because Hamas is made up of Palestinians. Are the Palestinians Arabs? Read this for me.
Who are the Palestinian people are Arabs who live and have lived throughout history.
So the Palestinians, all of the Palestinians, whether they Hamas or Fatah, whether they are secular or religious, they are Arabs, yo. Arabs, read.
In a certain geographical region in the Middle East, generally Palestine is used to refer to the geographic region spanning from the Mediterranean Sea in the east to the Jordan River in the west.
Go over. Now, read this, Ishmaelite.
Ishmaelite, a descendant of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and Hagar, Genesis 21, verse 14 through 21. The 12 sons of Ishmael.
So an Ishmaelite is a descendant of Ishmael. A descendant of Ishmael, one of Abraham's sons, yo. Real talk. And Ishmael had 12 sons. Go over. Read the underline.
All Arabs.
No, some Arabs.
All Arabs.
Read.
Following Muhammad's example.
You know what Muhammad's example is? Islam. All Arabs following Islam, read.
Claim descent from Ishmael.
Claim descent from Ishmael. So the Palestinians, Hamas, Fatah, they are Ishmaelites. According to the Bible. They are descendants of Ishmael, men. Descendants of Abraham's son, Ishmael. And they are at war with the Israelis. In the Bible, the Israelis are Edom, Esau. Specifically, they are a descendant of Esau's son, Amalek, yo. Amalek. Give me the genealogy of Esau in Genesis chapter 36. Start at verse 1.
The book of Genesis chapter 36 and verse 1.
When you read the book of Genesis chapter 36, you're reading the genealogy of Edom. Read that.
Now these are the generations of Esau.
Read.
Who is Edom?
Who is Edom? Jump down to 16.
Verse 16. Duke Karan.
Read.
Duke Gatam. And Duke Amalek.
And Duke Amalek. Yo. This is who the Israelis descend from. The Israelis are descendants of Amalek. They are Amalekites. Amalekites. Read.
These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah.
Give me Ezekiel 36 and 5. Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 5.
The book of Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 5. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen.
Read.
And against all Idumea.
Against all Idumea, read.
Which have appointed my land into their possession.
Now, Idumea is the Greco-Roman word or name for Edom. Specifically, it is the ancient word or name for Amalek, the Israelis show. Idumea is an ancient name for the Israelis. Hey, pick up from where he says, surely have I spoken against the residue of the heathen.
The book of Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 5. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession.
Which have appointed the land of God into their possession. Finish the verse.
With the joy of all their heart. With the spiteful mind.
With the spiteful minds.
To cast it out for a prey.
To cast it out for a prey. So Idumea appointed God's land into their possession, yo. Into their possession. And this is something that Edom seems to do throughout history. Like, for example, when the Jews were led away captive during the times of the Babylonians, guess who entered into the land of the Jews and took it? Edom. Give me that real quick in 1 Ezra chapter 4 and verse 50. 1 Ezra chapter 4 and verse 50 real quick.
Book of 1 Ezra chapter 4 and verse 50.
Read.
And that all the country which they hold should be free without tribute.
Read.
And that the Edomites
And who?
And that the Edomites should give over the villages of the Jews which then they held.
So when we were cast out of our land during the Babylonian captivity, guess who came and took our land? Edom.
Yep.
The Edomites, they came and took our land. And as it was then, so it is again, yo. So it is again. When we were cast out of our land was taken over by Gentiles. Gentiles. Give me that in Luke chapter 21 and verse 24. Luke 21 and verse 24. Because that's what you see today in the land. Gentiles. Real talk. Read that.
The book of Luke chapter 21 verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
Read.
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
He's talking about the Jews. The real Jews. They would fall by the edge of the sword and be led away as slaves, captives into all nations. When did this take place? 70 AD. The first Roman Jewish wars. Can you read?
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles. Read.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
The times of the Gentiles have not been fulfilled yet. So guess who's in Jerusalem today? Fighting. Gentiles. Gentiles are in Jerusalem. Gentiles are occupying Jerusalem today, yo. These Gentiles today just happen to be Ishmael and Idumea. Arabs and Caucasians, yo. Arabs and Israelis. These are the Gentiles that occupy the land today. But before the Arabs and the Israelis, it was the Ottoman Turks. Before them, it was the Ottoman Turks. You know what I'm saying? You can look that up in history yourself. Matter of fact, where we at? Luke chapter 21, verse 24. Yeah. Hey, give me folder number 2. How did the Idumeans, how did Israelis get the land of Israel today? Matter of fact, step out, go out of this real quick. I'm going to play... Let's play that first, the video first. Let me know when we straight.
What is...
Read that. Press play.
What is the Balfour Declaration, and why does it matter? On its 100th anniversary, many in the Arab world blame the declaration for the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour wrote a letter to Lord Walter Rothschild, one of Britain's most prominent Jewish citizens. Balfour called for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people within the former Ottoman Empire.
Now bring that.
At the time, the population of Palestine... is the Balfour Declaration, and why does it matter? On its 100th anniversary, many in the Arab world blame the declaration for the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour wrote a letter to...
In 1917, British Secretary Arthur Balfour. The Balfour Declaration was named after this man right here, Arthur Balfour. He was a secretary for a foreign secretary for Britain at that time. Press play.
Walter Rothschild, one of Britain's most prominent Jewish citizens. Balfour called for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people within the former Ottoman Empire.
Within the former
At the time,
Ottoman
the
Empire.
population of Palestine...
Before this took place, the Ottoman Turks ruled that land, yo. They ruled that land. But you remember, the Ottoman Turks, they were fighting in World War I. They were allied with Germany and Hungary and Austria and all that. And they lost to Britain, the United States of America, etc., right? So they lost control over that territory. Press play.
At the time, the population of Palestine was less than 10% Jewish, and the declaration accelerated Jewish migration from Europe. In 1948...
He said the Balfour Declaration accelerated Jewish migration from Europe. What is he saying? They brought in white people. They brought white people into the land. Press play.
Migration from Europe. In 1948, a UN resolution established the State of Israel, despite opposition from Arab...
That U.S. resolution is Resolution 181, yo. Resolution 181, also called the Palestinian Partition. That's what that resolution is that the UN drafted in 1948. Press play.
By then, the Jewish population had grown more than tenfold. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War followed. Since then, there have been 10 more wars, resulting in 5 million Palestinian refugees and thousands killed on both sides.
And now there's another war.
Israel has occupied the Palestinian territories of the West Bank.
Look at this. Did you see how that map went? You see how the population of the Jewish population rose as the Palestinian population decreased? Real talk. That's because they were taking land from the Palestinians. It's not their land anyway, but they were taking land from the Palestinians, and they were also removing Palestinians out of their lands, yo. Real talk. Press play.
In Gaza for over 50 years. Today, the population of Arabs and Jews in Israel and the occupied territories is about equal.
Damn.
The Israeli-Palestinian crisis is one of the world's longest-running conflicts. 100 years after the Balfour Declaration, the conflict remains in urgent need of resolution.
All right, go out of here. Let me get my first one real quick. Number one. All right, this is more than a century on. The Balfour Declaration explained. This is from Al Jazeera. Go over. This is from article from November 2nd, 2018. It says, go over so I can read it. All right. The Balfour Declaration, which resulted in a significant upheaval in the lives of the Palestinians, was issued on November 2nd, 1917. The declaration turned the Zionist aim of establishing a Jewish state in Palestine into a reality when Britain publicly pledged to establish a national home for the Jewish people there. The pledge is generally viewed as one of the main catalysts of the Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of Palestine in 1948, and the conflict that ensued with the Zionist state of Israel. Go over so we can see what the Nakba is. All right, enlarge that. Go over. The Nakba, literally Arabic for disaster, catastrophe, or cataclysm, also known as the Palestinian catastrophe, was the destruction of the Palestinian society and homeland in 1948 and permanent displacement of a majority of Palestinian Arabs. This is why when we saw that map, you saw the population of the Israelis begin to increase and the population of the Palestinians begin to decrease. Yeah. It's because of this Nakba, the permanent displacement of a majority of the Palestinian Arabs. Show. Go over. Let's get back to the article. Matter of fact, go back real quick. No, just go back. Oh, let me see something. I missed something. No, go back. Let me see. Where did I miss? Okay, I'm going to read this last paragraph. It is regarded as one of the most controversial and contested documents in the modern history of the Arab world and has puzzled historians for decades. Go over. And go over. All right, right here. It says the Balfour Declaration, Balfour's Promise in Arabic. In Arabic, it means Balfour's Promise, was a public pledge by Britain in 1917 declaring its aim to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. The statement came in the form of a letter from Britain's then former secretary, Arthur Balfour. I read that wrong. The statement came in the form of a letter from Britain's then foreign secretary, Arthur Balfour, addressed to Lionel Walter Rothschild, a figurehead of the British Jewish community. It was made during World War I. 1914 through 1918, and was included in the terms of the British Mandate for Palestine after the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. So the Balfour Declaration was a part of the British Mandate. The so-called mandate system set up by the Allied powers was a thinly veiled form of colonialism and occupation. Go over.
Hey, do you know you also get from that the Rothschilds? They part of the I guess the Jewish.
Yeah, they Zionists.
Yeah.
They're Zionists for sure. All right, it says the system transferred rule from the territories that were previously controlled by the powers defeated in the war, World War I. Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria to the victors. The declared aim of the mandate system was to allow the winners of the war to administer the newly emergent states until they could become independent. It says The case of Palestine, however, was unique, meaning the case dealing with Palestine was different from every other case. Unlike the rest of the post-war mandates, the main goal of the British mandate there was to create the conditions for the establishment of a Jewish national home, where Jews constituted less than 10% of the population at that time. The Jewish population was less than 10% at that time, but they wanted to make Palestine a home for the Jews, a Jewish state. Interesting. Go on. All right, the case of Palestine. Nope, I read that part. Here we go. Upon the start of the mandate, the British began to facilitate the immigration of European Jews to Palestine. What's that talking about? White people. White people. Between 1922 and 1935, the Jewish population rose from 9% to nearly 27% of the total population. Over. Go over. Though the Balfour Declaration included the caveat that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, the British mandate was set up in a way to equip Jews with the tools to establish self-rule and, at the expense of the Palestinian Arabs. Why was it controversial? Why? The document was controversial for several reasons. Firstly, it was, in the words of the late Palestinian American academic Edward Said, made by a European power about a non-European territory in a flat disregard of both the presence and wishes of the native majority resident in the territory. In essence, the Balfour Declaration promised Jews a land where the natives made up more than 90% of the population. Over. Secondly, the declaration was one of three conflicting wartime promises made by the British. So the British made three promises during this time. And all three of those promises contradicted one another, yo. Let's read about these promises real quick. I can't say it like that. Go up. Oh, no, okay, that's cool, my fault. It says, when it was released, Britain had already promised the Arabs independence from the Ottoman Empire in the 1915 Hussein MacMahon corresponded. So the first thing the Britons did, they promised the Arabs in that area independence after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. That was number one. Number two, the British also promised the French in a separate treaty known as the 1916 Sykes-Picot Agreement that the majority of Palestine would be under international administration while the rest of the region would be split between the two colonial powers after the war. So at first they promised the Palestinians independence, but then they turned around and promised the French that they could split the territory between the two, between themselves. That's crazy as hell. The declaration, however, meant that the Palestinians would come under British occupation and that the Palestinian Arabs who lived there would not gain independence. Finally, the declaration introduced a notion that was reportedly unprecedented in international law, that of a national home. Go over. Okay, I think that's it. Yep. The use of vague terms, national home for the Jewish people as opposed to state, left the meaning open to interpretation. Earlier drafts of the document used the phrase, the reconstruction of Palestine as a Jewish state, but that was later changed. In a meeting with the Zionist leader, Chaim Weizmann, in 1922, however, author Balfour and then Prime Minister David Lloyd George reportedly said the Balfour Declaration always meant an eventual Jewish state. So that's what Britain really intended the whole time. The whole time they truly intended on building a Jewish state in Palestine. That was the purpose of the Balfour Declaration. Why was it issued? The question of why the Balfour Declaration was issued has been a subject of debate for decades, with historians using different sources to suggest various explanations. While some argue that many in the British government at the time were Zionists themselves, others say the declaration was issued out of an anti-Semitic reasoning that giving Palestine to the Jews would be a solution to the quote-unquote Jewish problem. Go over. Now, we know that that's a lie. The truth about that statement was the former. It was the former, not the latter. The latter was a lie. In the mainstream academia, however, there are a set of reasons over which there is general consensus. First, control over Palestine was a strategic imperial interest to keep Egypt and the Suez Canal within Britain's sphere of influence. Second, Britain had to side with the Zionists to rally support among Jews in the United States and Russia, hoping they could encourage their government to stay in war until victory. Third, intense Zionist lobbying and strong connections between the Zionist community in Britain and the British government. Some of the officials in the government were Zionists themselves. Lastly, Jews being persecuted in Europe and the British government was sympathetic to their suffering. Actually, all of those are lies. The reason why the Balfour Declaration, the British Mandate, all of these things happen is because they had to establish the vision of these Israelis coming from Europe being Jews, being Jews. Give me that real quick in Daniel 11. You can leave this on the screen. Give me Daniel chapter 11 and verse 14. About them talking about establishing a vision.
The book of Daniel chapter 11 and verse 14.
Read.
And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south.
In that time many shall stand up against the king of the south. Read.
Also the robbers of thy people.
This is what I wanted. Also the robbers of thy people. The robbers of God's people, those are the Idumeans, the Israelis. Those are the robbers of the people of God. What did they rob us of? Our land, our heritage, our culture. Those are the robbers of the people of God. Read.
Shall exalt themselves to establish the vision.
To establish the vision. What vision? The vision of them being the Jews. Read.
But they shall fall.
But they shall fall, So the British Mandate, which included the Balfour Declaration, this was all to establish the vision of these Europeans being the Jews, being the Jews. Now, do I want any more of this? Let me see here. How was it received by I don't really care about how it was received by Palestinians and Arabs. But you know what? I'm going to read it anyway. In 1919, then U.S. President Woodrow Wilson appointed a commission to look into public opinion on the mandatory system in Syria and Palestine. The investigation was known as the King-Crane Commission. It found that the majority of Palestinians expressed a strong opposition to Zionism, leading to the conductors of the of the late Anwi Ab al-Hadi, a Palestinian political figure and nationalist, condemned the Balfour Declaration. Move over a little bit. In his memoir, saying it was made by an English foreigner who had no claim to Palestine, to a foreign Jew who had no right to it. In 1920, the Third Palestinian Congress in the Haifa decried the British government's plans to support the Zionist project and rejected the declaration as a violation of international law and of the rights of the indigenous population. However, the other important sources for insight into Palestinian opinion on the declaration, the press, was closed down by the Ottomans at the start of the war in 1914 and only began to reappear in 1919 under British military censorship. In November 1919, when Al-Istiqlal al-Arabi, Arab independence newspaper based in Damascus, was reopened, one article said in response to a public speech by Herbert Samuel, a Jewish cabinet minister in London on the second anniversary of the Balfour Declaration, "Our country is Arab, Palestine is Arab, and Palestine must remain Arab." Go over. Let's see if I want to read any more of this. Go over. I don't want to read any more of this. Go over. Go out. Yeah, back down. Go over again. Let's read this last part. Most importantly, the British allowed, this is what the Balfour Mandate or the Balfour Declaration allowed. More importantly, yeah, you didn't have to do that, Joe. More importantly, the British allowed the Jewish to establish self-governing institutions such as Jewish agencies to prepare themselves for a state when it came to it, while the Palestinians were forbidden from doing so, paving the way for the 1948 ethnic cleansing of Palestine. Go over. What else I got here? Skip that. We just watched that. Skip that. Yep. Let's see here. Okay. Creation of Israel. Office of the Historian. Creation of Israel. Go over. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish agency, proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel. U.S. President Harry Truman recognized the new nation on the same day, yo. On the same day. This is Elihu Elof presenting art to President Truman. Go over, let me see what I want. Let me see. Yeah, I'll read this. Although the United States supported the Balfour Declaration of 1917, which favored the step. You know what? I just thought about something. Go back. I just thought about something. I missed something. Go back. Go back. Go back. Oh, I want to read this. Who else is behind it? God damn it, I almost missed this. Who else is behind the Balfour Declaration? Now, we know that it was Britain. It was Britain, right? But who else was behind this thing right here? Who else was behind it? While Britain is generally held responsible for the Balfour Declaration, it is important to note that the statement would not have been made without prior approval from the other Allied powers during World War I. In a War Cabinet meeting in September 1917, British ministers decided that the views of President Wilson, this is President Thomas Woodrow Wilson of the United States of America. It said the British ministers decided that the views of President Wilson should be attained before any declaration was made. So before the Balfour Declaration could be declared, could be made, they had to first get the okay from Babylon, the United States of America, from President Woodrow Wilson. Before they could declare, before they could make that Balfour Declaration, they had to get okay from Babylon. Indeed, according to the cabinet's minutes on October 4th, the ministers recalled Arthur Balfour confirming that Wilson was extremely favorable to the movement. Hey, go over now. Oh, no, go back, my fault. Go back. Look at this next part. Go back over. Who else was behind? Look at that, France. Third one. France was also involved and announced its support prior to the issuing of the Balfour Declaration. Hold on. See if there's anything else. Go down. Just move the thing. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Go over. Go over. Go over again. All right, creation of Israel. That's when we're back to this. Creation of Israel, 1948. Go over. Go over again. Although the United States supported the Balfour Declaration in 1917, which favored the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine, President Franklin D. Roosevelt had assured the Arabs in 1945 that the United States would not intervene without consulting both the Jews and the Arabs in that region. The British, who held a colonial mandate for Palestine until 1948, opposed both the creation of a Jewish state and an Arab state in Palestine, as well as unlimited immigration of Jewish refugees. Go over. Let me see here. Palestine. Okay, and in October, publicly declared his support. Talking about the president. Who is this? Who is this over here? Truman. Go over. Who is this president here? That was. Where's his name at? Go over again. Oh, Truman. That's what it was. Yeah, you going back the wrong way. Go back. Go over again. The other way, man. All right.
Yeah, President.
Truman. Yeah, it's Truman. In the summer of 1916, Truman. Go back over 46. Truman. Go back over. All right. In October, he publicly declared his support for the creation of a Jewish state. Throughout 1947, the United States Special Commission on Palestine examined the Palestinian question and recommended the partition of Palestine into a Jewish and an Arab state. So the United Nations recommended the partition. The word partition means divide. The UN recommended dividing Palestine into two states, a Jewish state and an Arab state. On November 29th, 1947, the United Nations adopted Resolution 181, also known as the Partition Resolution. Where am I at? Go over. Hold on one second. Go over. Let me see. I'm good. Go over. One more time. Let's see. Okay, let's read this. Enlarge this. Scroll over. The British Mandate. Palestine was among the former Ottoman territories, placed under UK administration by the League of Nations in 1922. All of these territories eventually became fully independent states, except Palestine, where in addition to the rendering of administrative assistance and advice, The British mandate incorporated the Balfour Declaration of 1917, expressing support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, for the Jewish people. During the mandate from 1922 to 1947, large-scale Jewish immigration, mainly from Eastern Europe, we keep reading that, took place. The numbers swelling in the 1930s with the Nazi persecution, Arabs' demand for independence and resistance, blah, blah, blah. Go over. All right, Khan. So, United Nations Resolution 181. Let's go over. Read this.
United Nations Resolution 181. Revolutions passed by the United Nations, UN, General Assembly in 1947 that called for the partition of Palestine.
That called for the partition or the dividing of Palestine, read.
Into Arab and Jewish states.
Into Arab and Jewish states, read.
With the city of Jerusalem as
a corpus separatum.
As a corpus separatum, Latin, separate entity.
Meaning a separate entity, read.
To be governed by a special international regime.
So Jerusalem is governed by a special international regime. The Israelis don't like that. The Israelis want to be governors over Jerusalem. They want to govern Jerusalem. Keep going.
The resolution, which was considered by the Jewish community in Palestine to be a legal basis for the establishment of Israel, and which was rejected by the Arab community, was succeeded almost immediately by violence.
Almost immediately by violence. Go over. Let's play this.
At Flushing, Long Island, the General Assembly of the United Nations has made its decision on Palestine. The map shows what partition means. The Jewish state colored light, the Arab state dark, Jaffa to go to the Arabs, Jerusalem internationalized. There was heated debate in the assembly. This is the delegate from Saudi Arabia arguing against partition. Then Senor Arana of Brazil, presiding, calls on the nations to vote and announces how they vote.
Saudi Arabia? No. Soviet Union? Yes. United Kingdom? Abstain. The United States? Yes.
The resolution of the DAC Committee on Palestine was adopted by 33 votes, 13 against, 10 abstentions.
And this was the scene next day in Jerusalem. The Jewish people at once began to celebrate the United Nations decision. If they hadn't got all they wanted, they had at least gained the verdict for the setting up of a new Jewish state, and their rejoicing was obviously a spontaneous affair. Such was the immediate Jewish reaction in Jerusalem, and it was the same in Tel Aviv and...
Go over. What else I got? Do I got anything else? That was it? That was it? Hey, now, I want to show you Resolution 181 in the Bible. We're going to show you the partition of Palestine in the Bible, yo. Give me Joel chapter 3 and verse 1.
The book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 1.
Read.
For behold, in those days, and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem.
When the Lord shall return the children of Judah and Jerusalem from captivity. Read.
I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
Read.
And will plead with them there for my people.
The Lord said he's going to gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For what? For war, man. For war. And you know what war this is talking about? This is talking about the war between the beast, the kings of the earth, their armies, against Christ and his armies. That's what this war is talking about, yo. Real talk. Matter of fact, jump over to verse... Matter of fact, keep reading. Watch this.
And will plead with them there for my people.
He said, I will plead with them there for my people. Jump over to verse 8.
Verse 8.
Matter of fact, verse 9.
Verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Make up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up.
Read.
Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong.
Let even the weak among the nations say, I am strong. Read.
Assemble yourselves, and come, all ye heathen.
Assemble yourselves, you heathen. Come, all ye heathen. Read.
And gather yourselves together.
And gather yourselves together. Read.
Round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord.
Keep reading.
Let the heathen be wicked, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
The Lord said there he's going to sit to judge the heathen. He's going to judge the heathen. He's going to plead with the heathen in the valley of Jehoshaphat. And we know how he pleads. Give me that real quick about how the Lord pleads. No, you give me how the Lord pleads in Isaiah 66. You give me Revelation 19 about what this war is talking about. Isaiah 66 and 15. Let me get that.
The book of Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind.
Read.
To render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword.
By fire and by sword. Read.
Would the Lord plead with all flesh.
That's how the Lord pleads. He pleads with fire and sword. This is how he pleads with all flesh, yo. Read.
And the slain.
And the slain, that's the killed, the murdered, read.
Of the Lord.
Of the Lord, read.
Shall be many.
Shall be many. Many. The Lord is coming back to kill a lot of people, yo. A lot of people. Hey, give me Revelation 19. I think it's 19.
The book of Revelation chapter 19, verse 19. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies.
And their armies. Their armies. These are the nations gathered together, read.
Gathered together to make war against him.
Gathered together to make war against him, read.
That sat on the horse.
That's talking about Christ, read.
And against his army.
And against his army. Is that it?
That was verse 19, yes.
Hey, that's the war that it's talking about right there, yo. In Joel chapter 3. Go back to Joel chapter 3. Read Joel chapter 3 and verse 2 again.
Book of Joel chapter 3 and verse 2. And I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
He said, I will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. In Revelations, it calls the valley of Jehoshaphat Armageddon. Armageddon. Give me that real quick in Revelation 16. Revelation chapter 16, and let's start at verse let's start at verse 13.
All right. The book of Revelation chapter 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
Keep reading.
For they are the spirits of devils.
So these frogs, these are the spirits of devils. Read.
Working miracles.
Working miracles.
Which go forth unto the kings of the earth.
Which go forth throughout all the kings of the earth. Read.
And of the whole world. To gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
To gather them. Talking about the kings of the earth together for the great battle with God Almighty. Read.
Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches.
Blessed is he that watches.
And keepeth his garment.
Blessed is he that keeps his garments.
Lest he walk naked.
Lest you be caught walking naked, read.
And they see his shame.
And everyone sees your shame, read.
And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
And he gathered them together, talking about the kings of the earth and their armies, into a place in the Hebrew tongue called Armageddon. In Joel chapter 2 is the valley of Jehoshaphat. Here it's called Armageddon. Finish that.
That was verse. That was it.
What's the next part say?
Verse 17. Verse 17. And then the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air.
Let's go back. Joel chapter 2. Or chapter 3, excuse me, in verse 2.
The book of Joel chapter 3 and verse 2. And I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
Which is Armageddon, read.
And will plead with them there for my people.
The Lord said he will plead with all the nations there for his people. He's going to plead with them there. He's going to war with them there, read.
And for my heritage, Israel.
God's people and his heritage, Israel, read.
Whom they have scattered among the nations.
They scattered the Israelites among the nations via the Silk Road slave trade, via the Sub-Saharan slave trade, via the transatlantic slave trade. This is how they scattered God's people among the nations. Read.
And parted my land.
And parted my land. This right here is Resolution 181. This is the Palestinian partition right here, yo. The dividing of God's land into two states. A Jewish state, a Palestinian state, man. This is Resolution 181 in the Bible, bro. Real talk. Give me 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Let's go there now. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, and let's start at verse 14.
Book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein.
Woe to the world and to the people that dwell in the world. Read.
For the sword.
For what?
For the sword.
The sword. That's talking about war. Read.
And their destruction.
And destruction. Read.
Draweth nigh.
Draws nigh. Read.
And one people shall stand up to fight against another.
That's what you see happening today with the Israelis and the Palestinians. The Israelis and the Palestinians. One people fighting against another people, yo. Real talk. Read.
And swords in their hands.
With weapons in their hands. With weapons of war in their hands. Remember, the modern day sword, that's the gun. That's a firearm. That's a bomb. That's a missile, yo. Real talk. You got something you want to say?
Oh, no.
Keep going.
For there shall be sedition among men.
There shall be sedition among men. Sedition deals with revolts, rebellions, insurrections, yo. Among men. Read.
And invading one another.
And invading one another. Hamas just invaded Israel. They invaded Israel on the southern border. And now Israel is invading Hamas. Invading Gaza. Invading one another. Yo, read.
They shall not regard their kings.
They shall not regard their kings.
Nor princes.
Nor their princes. Ask Zelensky over there in the Ukraine. Ask him if Vladimir Putin gave a damn about what he thought. Ask him. He'll speak some type of trash to you.
And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city.
Read.
And shall not be able.
The men and women in Gaza, they desire to go into another city. They desire to get the hell out of Gaza. Because Gaza is being bombed to hell right now. Yo, being bombed to hell and back. And they desire to get out the city, but they can't. Why? Because Israel closed their borders. And Egypt did the same. Give me my next one real quick. Folder number 3. Folder number 3. Let me know when we're straight. Read that for me.
Egypt excuses Gaza aid.
No, discusses.
Discusses Gaza aid. Rejects
corridors.
Corridors for civilians, say sources.
They reject corridors for civilians. So they have rejected civilians of Gaza, any type of safe passage, yo. Any type of safety. That's what it's saying. Go over. Go over. Read that right there where it says Cairo, October 11th.
Cairo, October 11th.
Rudders.
Egypt have this.
I'll read it. Egypt has discussed plans with the United States and others to provide humanitarian aid through its border with Gaza Strip, but rejects any move to set up safe corridors for refugees fleeing the enclave. Egyptian security sources said on Wednesday. They have rejected any move to set up any safe corridors for anybody fleeing from Gaza, yo. See, they want to get the hell out of Gaza. But where can they go?
Who can they run to?
Who can they run to? Where can they run to? You know what I'm talking about?
When they see them bombs.
Hey, Gaza is a tiny coastal strip of land wedged between Israel in the north and east and Egypt to the southwest. It is home to some 2.3 million people who have been living under a blockade since Palestinian Islamist group Hamas took control there in 2007. So you got the people in Gaza, they want to get the hell out of Gaza. But they can't. Because the borders into Israel closed. The borders into Egypt closed to them. We saw it earlier in the class. They said Israelis bombed the goddamn border into Egypt.
Egypt ain't making no corridors and making no crossover.
Nope. Egypt ain't trying to help at all, yo. So when we go back to the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 17, read that again.
Book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city.
A man shall desire to go into a city, like Cairo, for example. Read.
He shall not be able.
But he ain't able to, though. Read.
But because of their pride.
Because of their pride.
The city shall be troubled.
Because of their pride. Because of the pride of the Arabs. Because of the pride of Hamas. Their cities have been troubled. Read.
The houses shall be destroyed.
Their houses have been destroyed.
And men shall be afraid.
And the men in those areas are in fear. The men and the women and the children are afraid. Read.
A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor.
The Israelis and the Palestinians are neighbors. The Israelis aren't having pity on the Palestinians, man. There's no mercy for the Palestinians, man. This is the reason why they're dropping bombs even in residential neighborhoods, even on hospitals. There's no pity. Just like Hamas didn't have no pity for the Israelis, man. No difference. Keep going.
But shall destroy their houses with the sword.
With the bomb, read.
And spoil their goods.
And rob them, read.
Because of the lack of bread. And for great tribulation.
And for great tribulation, read.
Behold, saith God, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me.
What is he talking about? World War III. Calling all the kings of the earth together to fight. Read.
Which are from the rising of the sun.
From the rising of the sun, that's talking about Japan and China. Remember, Japan is called the land of the rising sun. Go out real quick and give me Japan. Back. Let me get Japan real quick, just to show that Japan is called the land of the rising sun. Let me know when we straight. Good. In Japanese, Nippon or Nihon, both, which means Japan in Japanese, roughly mean the sun's origin. Or in other words, the place where the sun originates. That's why it's often translated as the land of the rising sun. So, when you read 2 Ezra 15 and 20 again.
Book of 2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 20. Behold, saith God, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me.
Read.
Which are from the rising of the sun.
That's talking about China. China and Japan, yo. Read.
From the south.
From the south.
From the east.
From the east, what you know as the Middle East and all those places, read.
And Libanus.
And Lebanon, read.
To turn themselves one against another.
To fight each other. That's how you know this is talking about World War III. In Joel chapter 3, it was talking about them fighting against God. Mm-hmm. Here, it's talking about them fighting one another. This is World War III, read.
And repay the things that they have done to them.
And why are these things happening? These things are happening because God is recompensing, repaying these nations back for all the things that they have done to his people, the people of Israel. Read.
Like as they do, yet this day unto my chosen.
So not only is he paying them back for the things that they have done in time past to his people, the people of Israel, but he's paying them back for the things that they're doing even now to his people. Read.
So will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Lord God.
He said, I will recompense in their bosom. Didn't he say that in Joel 3? Give me that in Joel 3 where he says something. He says the same thing. Joel chapter 3, and I want verse... Let me get verse 4.
Book of Joel chapter 3 and verse 4. Will a lion roar in the forest?
Joel 3 and 4.
Book of Joel chapter 3 and verse 4. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon?
Tyre and Zidon, those were Hamite nations, Nilotic Africans, right?
And all the coast of Palestine.
And all of the coast of Palestine. Who is in the coast of Palestine today? The Palestinians, Arabs, right?
Will ye render me a recompense?
Will you recompense God, right?
And if you recompense me.
And if you recompense God, right?
Swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head.
The Lord said, I will return your recompense upon your own head. Now, how did they recompense God? They recompensed God by taking God's people into slavery. Jump up to verse 3 real quick.
Verse 3.
Uh-huh.
They have cast lots for my people.
They have cast lots for God's people, Israelite people. Read.
And have given a boy for an harlot.
They sold a boy for a harlot. They made the young men into breeders, yo. Read.
And sold a girl for wine.
Why?
That they might drink.
And they sold the girl just so that they could have wine to drink, yo. Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold.
They robbed God of his silver and his gold.
And have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things.
They took God's goodly and pleasant things into their own temples, read.
The children also of Judah.
The children of Judah.
And the children of Jerusalem.
The children of Jerusalem.
Have ye sold unto the Grecians.
They sold to the Grecians, which is talking about the white man. They sold us to the white man, read.
That ye might remove them far from their borders.
That they might remove us far from our borders, yo. This is how they recompense God. So God said, I'm going to turn your recompense on your own head. This is why you get verses like Revelation 13 and 10. Give me Revelation 13 and 10. This is why you get verses like Revelation 13 and 10. You know what I'm talking about? Read this for me real fast.
The book of Revelation chapter 13 verse 10.
Uh-huh.
He that leadeth into captivity.
He that leadeth into captivity. The Palestinians have led into captivity. Hamites have led us into captivity. White people, including the Israelis, have led us into captivity.
Bring it up.
Shall go into captivity.
Their recompense that's coming back on their own head, they go into captivity too. Read.
He that killeth with the sword.
Those that kill with the sword, read.
Must be killed with the sword.
This is their recompense. They must be killed with the sword. Read.
Here is the patience.
Here's the patience.
And the faith.
And the faith.
Of the saints.
Of the saints, yo. Give me the one in Jeremiah as well. You know what I want, right? Give me that.
Look at Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 16.
Read.
Therefore all they that devour thee.
All that have devoured us, read.
Shall be devoured.
Shall be devoured. This goes right back to Revelation 13, yo. Right back. Those that lead into captivity, go into captivity. Those that kill with the sword, they kill with the sword. Those that have devoured us, they get devoured. Read.
And all thine adversaries.
And all of our adversaries, every one of them, read.
Every one of them.
There you go, read.
Shall go into captivity.
They shall what?
Shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee.
And those that have spoiled us.
Shall be a spoil.
Shall be a spoil, yo. What they have done to us, God is going to do to them, yo. Hey, where are we at? Give me 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 56 and 57. Let me get that real quick.
The book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 56.
Read.
Like as thou hast done unto my chosen.
Like as thou hast done unto my chosen. Read.
Saith the Lord. Even so shall God do unto thee.
Even so shall God do unto you. What you have done to his people, it will be done to you, yo. Read.
And shall deliver thee into mischief.
He's going to deliver thee into mischief. That mischief translates into evils. Read.
Thy children.
Who?
Thy children.
Thy children.
Shall die of hunger.
Shall die of hunger. What did the Israelis do? They cut off the food supplies into Hamas, right?
Yep.
God said their children shall die of hunger. Read.
And thou shalt fall through the sword.
And thou shalt fall through the sword. Read.
Thy cities shall be broken down.
That's what you saw when we was watching those videos. Gaza is a city being broken down, yo. Read.
And all thine shall perish with the sword in the field.
And all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. These things are happening to these people because of the things that they have done to us and the things that they do to us. Give me folder number 4. Folder number 4. I want to run through this because I do not want to do a part 2. Slavery in Arab states. Slavery in Arab states. Let me know we straight. All right, go over. All right, the Arab state region is comprised of 12 countries, which that makes sense because Ishmael had 12 sons. He had 12 sons, yo. Real talk. Give me that real quick in the script. Give me that. Give me Genesis 25 and 16 first.
The book of Genesis chapter 25 and verse 16. These are the sons of Ishmael. And these are their names by their towns and by their castles. 12 princes.
12 princes.
According to their nations.
According to their nations. So Ishmael had 12 sons, 12 princes, which eventually became 12 nations, yo. Give me chapter 17 and verse 20 as well.
The book of Genesis chapter 17 and verse 20. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him.
Behold, I have blessed him. Ishmael is blessed. Read.
And will make him fruitful.
And Ishmael is fruitful. Read.
And will multiply him exceedingly.
And he's been multiplied. Read.
12 princes shall he beget.
12 princes shall he beget.
And I will make him a great nation.
And I will make him a great nation. See, Ishmael had 12 sons. Those 12 sons became 12 princes, 12 nations. But when those 12 come back together, when they're confederate, and those 12 become one, they become a great nation, yo. A great nation. Now, it says the Arab states region is comprised of 12 countries. Just go over. I don't want to read all this. That was it? All right, okay, go back. All right. What is the... Okay, yeah. This is what I want to read right here. Go over one more time. Okay, cool. It says, within the region, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait were the countries with the highest prevalence of modern slavery. Saudi Arabia also had the highest estimated number of people in modern slavery, followed by Iraq. And together, they accounted for half of all people in modern slavery in the region. Migrant workers, remember, these are mostly black people too, I'm just putting that out there. Migrant workers face particular risk of labor exploitation in the region as a result of the kafala sponsorship system that operates in Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. All of these are Arab countries, yo. Arab countries in which so-called black men and black women today are slaves, yo. Slaves in these countries. Hey, give me Galatians chapter 4. Leave this on the screen. Give me Galatians chapter 4. Start at verse 22.
The book of Galatians chapter 4 and verse 22. For it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondmaid and the other by a free woman.
So it's written Abraham had two sons, yo. One by a bondmaid, one by a free woman. Give me 1 Chronicles 1 and 28 real quick. 1 Chronicles chapter 1 and 28.
The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 28.
Read.
And it reads, the sons of Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael.
So it's written Abraham had two sons, Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael and Isaac. These are the two sons of Abraham. Hey, Lucas, give me Genesis chapter 16 and the last two verses. Let's read about the birth of Ishmael real quick.
Book of Genesis chapter 16 and verse 26. In the self same day was Abraham circumcised.
That's the last two verses in Genesis 16.
Oh, this is Genesis 17. Salakia. Verse 15 of Genesis chapter 16. And Hagar bare Abraham a son, and Abraham called his son name, which Hagar bare Ishmael.
So he called Abraham. Abraham called his son that Hagar bare to him Ishmael, yo, right?
And Abraham was 86 years old.
So Abraham was 86 years old, right?
When Hagar bare Ishmael.
When Hagar gave birth, right?
To Abraham.
Is that it?
Yes.
Hey, give me Genesis 21, 2 and 3 about the birth of Isaac. Go ahead, read it if you're there. You said Genesis 21, 2 and 3.
The book of Genesis chapter 21, verse 2.
Read.
For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him.
Read.
And Abraham called his name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac.
Isaac, is that it?
Yes.
Go back to Galatians chapter 4 and let's read 22 again.
The book of Galatians chapter 4 and verse 22. For it is written that Abraham had two sons.
He had two sons, Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac and Ishmael, right?
The one by a bondmaid.
That was Ishmael, right?
The other by a free woman.
That was Isaac, right?
Verse 23. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh.
Talking about Ishmael. He was born of the bondwoman, Hagar. He was a child of the flesh. He is a child of the flesh. Meaning he is not a child of God at all. He is a child of the flesh, read.
But he of the free woman.
But he of the free woman, Sarah. Her son with Abraham, Isaac, read.
Was by promise.
And that was the promised seed, read.
Which things are an allegory.
Now their birth is historic. Their birth is historic, but their birth is also an allegory. It's also allegorical, read.
For these are the two covenants.
And their birth represented the two covenants, read.
The one from the Mount Sinai.
Which would be the old covenant, read.
Which gendereth to bondage.
Read.
Which is Agar.
It was allegorical for Agar, read.
Verse 25. For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia.
Where?
In Arabia.
In Arabia, read.
And answereth to Jerusalem.
And answereth to Jerusalem, read.
Which now is.
Which now is, read.
And is in bondage with her children.
And is in bondage with her children. When Paul wrote this, Jerusalem was being occupied by Rome. Rome occupied Jerusalem. The Jews were in bondage to Rome. Jump down to verse 28.
Verse 28. Excuse me. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was.
Now we, brethren, us Israelites, read.
As Isaac was, are the children of promise.
We are the children of the promise, read.
But as then, he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit.
He that was born after the flesh, talking about Ishmael, persecuted those that were born after the spirit. Talking about the Israelites, read.
Even so it is now.
As it was then, so it is now, yo. It's still happening now, yo. It's happening now in Kuwait. It's happening now in Bahrain, Jordan, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. They are still persecuting us, yo. Us. Go over. But not only just in those places, but also in Palestine itself, yo. Black Palestinians. Let's enlarge this real quick. Yep, and move over a little bit. All right, yeah, bring it back a little bit more. All right, go over. No, I want to get the whole thing. No, I want to get the whole thing on the screen. That's good enough. Go over. All right, black Palestinians are black people who live in or have family from Palestine. They are also called Afro-Palestinians because many have ancestors from Africa. In history, many black people were forced to go to Palestine as slaves by the Ottoman Empire, yo. So a lot of black people were already in Palestine before the white man, before the Arabs. We were over in Palestine as slaves to the Ottoman Empire, the Ottoman Turks, which is Elam, yo. They're a bunch of East Indians. It says some of them were also enslaved by Palestinian Bedouins. There are also black Palestinians who came as immigrants from Africa. Today, here go the point, today, they still face discrimination because of their race, yo, as well as occupation by Israel. They still face these Afro-Palestinians, these quote-unquote black Palestinians are dealing with all types of discrimination, yo, in Gaza. And guess who's discriminating against them in Gaza? Goddamn Palestinians. Goddamn Arabs, yo. And at the same time that they're dealing with the discrimination from a goddamn Arab, a goddamn Palestinian, they got to deal with Israeli occupation on top of it. Goddamn, they got a lot to deal with, man. The devil. They are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Real talk, yo. It says one neighborhood in Gaza with many black Palestinians is known by an insulting name for slaves. Ain't that Deuteronomy 28? And ye shall be a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Hell yeah, Negro. The Palestinians got bywords for you too. They got words for the slaves too, man. The people pray for Palestine. For what? For what, man? A minority of African Palestinians, that's good enough. Pray for Palestine. Yeah, pray for the destruction. Pray for that. That's what you want to pray for. We don't pray for peace. Ain't gonna be no goddamn peace. What the Bible says is no peace to the wicked.
Yeah, no peace to the wicked.
None of that at all. You know what I'm talking about? None. So we ain't gonna be praying for no peace, talking about no damn peace. The prophets that came before us ain't talking about no damn peace.
Bring that out.
Give me that real quick in Jeremiah 28:8. About the prophets that came before us real quick.
Hey, you bring out 144.
God. Book of Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against.
No, they prophesied for.
Both against.
They prophesied against what?
Many countries.
They prophesied against many countries.
And against great kingdoms.
And against great kingdoms.
Of war.
Of war.
And of evil.
Of evil.
And of pestilence.
And of pestilence. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to prophesy against great countries. Against great kingdoms. And we're going to prophesy about war, evil, pestilence. We ain't going to be talking about no goddamn peace. Because there won't be no goddamn peace. There is no peace to the wicked. And Amalek is wicked, and Ishmael is goddamn wicked. Real talk. Do I have anything else up here? No. People be like, yo, pray for the Palestinians. No, we pray for their destruction. What's happening in Palestine today is happening because of the evils that they have done to us. To our people, to God's people, which are the Israelite people, man. Real talk, you got something?
Yeah, get Isaiah 48. Matter of fact, get Isaiah 48 and verse 22. Just to back over what priest brought out. This is a good precept.
Isaiah
48 and 22.
The book of Isaiah chapter 48 and verse 22.
Bring it up.
There is no peace.
What the Bible say?
There is no peace.
There's no peace, but there's no peace for who though? Keep reading.
Saith the Lord unto the wicked.
Unto the wicked. There's no peace unto the wicked.
You got something?
Yeah. The book of Sirach,
I was good.
Go ahead. The book of Sirach, chapter 36 and verse 7. Raise up indignation and pour out wrath. Take away the adversary and destroy the enemy.
And destroy the enemy. Ain't gonna be no damn peace. Destruction coming to the enemy, man. Finish your part. Finish it.
I'm going to jump to verse 10.
Do your thing.
Smite and sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen that say, there is none other but we.
There you go. Hey, also, give me the one in Isaiah 57 about no peace to the Wicked as well. Isaiah 57, last two verses.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 57 and verse 20.
Read.
But the wicked,
Who?
but the wicked
Read.
are like the troubled sea.
The wicked are like the troubled sea. When you think about the sea being troubled, what do you think about it? You think about the sea being loud and tumultuous and dangerous, yo. That's what the Bible is saying about the wicked. Read.
When it cannot rest.
When it cannot rest. There's no rest when the sea is being troubled. Read.
Whose waters cast up mire and dirt.
Their waters is like mire and dirt. Swamp waters. Muddy waters. Read.
There is no peace.
Shitty waters. Read. There is no what?
There is no peace.
There is no peace. Read.
Saith the Lord. To the wicked.
There is no peace, saith the Lord, to the wicked. So don't think here at SGI, you're going to hear us talking about peace to the goddamn wicked. That's not going to happen, yo.
Yeah, because y'all got shitty waters.
Go back to 2 Ezra 15, man. I gotta get through this. I ain't trying to do a part 2. 2 Ezra 15, let's read 28.
2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 28.
Read.
Behold, in horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east.
Behold, in horrible vision. This is a vision that Ezra's had. He said, the appearance from the east. Read.
Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots.
Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia. Who is this talking about? It's talking about the 12 nations of Ishmael. They shall come out with many chariots. These are vehicles of war. Read.
And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth.
They shall be carried as the wind upon earth.
That all they which hear them may fear and tremble.
And all that hear them are going to fear and tremble, yo. They're going to be like the wind upon the earth. You remember what Christ said about the wind? Give me that in St. John chapter 3 and verse 8. You remember what Christ said about the wind? Let's find out.
Book of St. John chapter 3 and verse 8. Read. The wind bloweth where it listeth.
The wind bloweth where it listeth. Meaning the wind goes where it wants to go. This is how the dragons of Arabia are going to be. They're going to go where they list, where they want. Read.
And thou hearest the sound thereof.
And you're going to hear the sound. And when you hear it, there's going to be trembling and fear and trembling, just like we just read in 2 Ezra 15.
Because you're going to hear the tanks.
There you go. Those fighter jets. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear all that. Bombings. Read.
But can it not tell whence it cometh?
But you're not going to be able to tell where they're coming from. Read.
And whether it goeth.
And you're not going to be able to tell where they're going. What is he saying about the Arabs here? He's telling you they're going to be unpredictable at this time, yo. They're going to be unpredictable. This is why he said they're going to be like the wind. You don't know where the wind is coming from. You don't know where it's going. It blows where it lists. You can hear it, but that's about it. Finish the verse.
So is every one that is born of the Spirit.
Let's go back to 2 Ezra chapter 15 and let's read verse 30.
Book of 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 30. Also the Carmanians.
The Carmanians, those are the Iranians today, yo. Carmania is the ancient name for Iran. Carmanian is the ancient name for Iranian. Read.
Raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the woods.
They're going to be like wild boars in the woods. Wild boars in the woods are dangerous, yo. They are dangerous. This is what he's telling you the Carmanians are going to be like. The Iranians are going to be like. Read.
And with great power shall they come and join battle with them.
And they're going to join battle with them. With who? The dragons of Arabia. The Carmanians. Iran is going to join with the Arabs. Read.
And shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians.
And they're going to waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The Assyrian here, Edom, Idumea, the Israelio. This is hip talk for the Israelis. The Bible says that the Arabs and the Carmanians, they're going to destroy a portion of the land, yo. Read.
Verse 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand.
And then shall the dragons have the upper hand. Talk about the Arabs. Read.
Remembering their nature.
Remembering their nature. Remember, by nature, the Arabs are wild men, yo. That's what the Bible says. Give me that precept. Genesis 16:11. Genesis 16, I want 11 and 12. By nature, Arabs are wild men. Ishmael is a wild man. Read this real quick.
The book of Genesis chapter 16, verse 11.
Read.
And the angel of the Lord said unto her.
The angel of the Lord said to her, God, what?
Behold, thou art with child.
She was pregnant at this time, read.
And shall bear a son. And shall call his name Ishmael.
And shall call his name Ishmael, read.
Because the Lord hath heard thy affliction.
The name Ishmael means affliction heard. That's what the word or the name Ishmael means. But keep going.
And he will be a wild man.
He shall be what?
And he will be a wild man.
This is his nature. By nature, he is a wild man. How wild? So wild that he will strap TNT and other explosive devices to his chest, his torso, his stomach, and blow everything and everybody up that's in his local radio show.
Hey,
real talk.
In the name of his deity.
In the name of his deity, with the hope of getting 70 virgins that I just found out recently are little boys. Straight up, I'm just putting it out there. I know some Islam brothers gonna get mad. I don't care, man. I don't care. I didn't write the hadith. You need to take it up with the people who wrote the hadith, man. They're the ones that said y'all want little boys that are polished. Real talk. That's what they said. Not me. I didn't write it. But I know them Arabs accepted it because they didn't get it out. They didn't get rid of it yet. they ain't wiped it out. They ain't took the black marker. They ain't did none of that.
That ain't wild beasts.
Real talk. So these people are wild men by nature. Read it again.
Verse 12. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man.
His hand will be against every man.
And every man's hand against him.
And every man's hand against him. Is that it?
No.
Finish the verse.
And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren.
And that's what you see today. Ishmael, they dwell in the same general location, the same general area, yo. Real talk. Let's go back to 2 Ezra chapter 15. Let's read verse 31 again.
The book of 2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand.
The dragons of Arabia, they shall have the upper hand. Read.
Remembering their nature.
They're wild by nature. Read.
And if they shall turn themselves.
And if they turn themselves.
Conspiring together in great power to persecute them.
Conspiring together, meaning all of Ishmael conspiring and becoming one, yo. One, to make war against the Assyrian, which is the Israeli here in this chapter. Remember, we read that when those 12 sons of Ishmael come together, those nations become what? One great nation, yo. Great power. Keep reading.
Verse 32. Then these shall be troubled.
Talking about Amalek. Talking about the Israelis. They're going to be troubled.
And keep silence through their power.
And they're going to have to keep silence. Read.
And shall flee.
And shall flee. Because remember it said they're going to waste a portion of the land. Hey, give me Zechariah 9. Start at 5. Zechariah 9 and 5.
The book of Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 5. Ashkelon shall see it.
Ashkelon shall see it.
And fear.
And fear.
Gaza also shall see it. And be very sorrowful.
Ashkelon and Gaza, these are cities in Israel. Kieran.
And Ekron, for her expectation, shall be ashamed.
And Ekron shall be ashamed. Another city in Israel. Read.
And the king shall perish from Gaza. And Ashkelon shall not be inhabited.
Because Ashkelon is going to be destroyed, Joe. It's going to be destroyed. Read.
And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod.
Read that part again.
And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod.
There are Israelis that dwell in Ashdod today. Guess what the Bible calls them? Read it again.
And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod.
They're bastards, yo. Fatherless children. They are not the people of God. A bastard dwells in Ashdod. Read.
And I will cut off the pride of the Philistines.
The Philistines today are the Palestinians. The Palestinians, them damn Arabs. God said he's going to cut off their pride, yo. Give me the book of Zephaniah. Zephaniah chapter 2. Let's start at 4.
The book of Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 4. For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon a desolation.
For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon shall become a desolation, yo. It is going to be destroyed. Read.
They shall drive out Ashdod.
They shall drive out Ashdod when?
At noonday.
At noonday. Remember we read they got to flee in 2 Ezra 15. He said they shall drive out Ashdod, the bastard that is in Ashdod, at noonday. Yo, read.
And Ekron shall be rooted up.
And Ekron shall be rooted up, destroyed. Read.
Woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast.
Woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast of Israel. Read.
The nation of the
Cherethites.
Of the Cherethites.
Read.
The word of the Lord is against you.
Keep going.
O Canaan.
O Canaan. Canaan, that's the land of Israel. Read.
The land of the Philistines.
The Philistines talk about the Palestinians. Read.
I will even destroy thee.
I will even destroy thee. The Lord said not only is Israel going to be destroyed, but the Palestinians are going to be destroyed as well. Read.
That there shall be no inhabitant.
There will be no inhabitant. Let's go back to 2 Ezra 15. 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 32 again.
The book of 2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 32. Then these shall be troubled.
Then these shall be troubled. It's talking about the Assyrians, which is dealing with the Israeli in this verse. These shall be troubled. Read.
And keep silence through their power.
And they're going to keep silence through their power. Read.
And shall flee.
And they shall flee. Remember, they shall drive out Ashdod at noonday. They're going to have to flee. The Arabs are going to get a significant victory here. Keep going.
And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them.
And from the land of the Assyrians, it's talking about Israel, shall the enemy besiege them. The enemy here is the European Union and the United States of America. Remember, they are allies with Israel, yo. Israel is a part of the UN, the EU. They are allies. Keep reading.
And NATO.
And NATO, which is the military side of the EU. Keep reading.
And consume some of them.
And they shall consume some of them, some of the Arabs. Read. And Carmanians. Read.
And in their host shall be fear and dread.
They're going to be afraid.
And strife among their kings.
And there's going to be strife among their kings, yo. Among their kings. This right here, when you read 2nd Ezra chapter 15, 28 through 33, this is dealing with the conflict between the Israelis and the Arabs, yo. And the Arabs. And this right here is what is going to lead into World War III. Into World War III. Give me Jeremiah 49 and verse 20.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord, that he hath taken against Edom.
Against the Caucasian, read.
And his purpose.
Read.
That he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman.
That he has purposed against the inhabitants of Teman, read.
Surely the least of the flock.
Surely the least of the flock of Edom. That's dealing with Amalek. They are the least of the flock of Edom, read.
Shall draw them out.
Shall draw them out. It's talking about the nations, read.
Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them.
And from there, their habitations shall become desolate. This is going to lead to World War III, yo. The conflict with the Israelis and the Arabs, that conflict is going to lead to World War III. Give me Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 24, I think it is.
The book of Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 24. The Lord of hosts hath sworn, saying.
Saying what?
Surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass.
Read.
And as I have proposed,
as I have purpose, read.
So shall it stand.
So shall it stand, read.
That I will break the Assyrian in my land.
That I will break the Assyrian in my land. Who occupies the land of Israel today? The Israelis. They occupy the land of Israel today. The Assyrian here is hip talk for the Israelis. The Lord said he will break the Israelis, the Assyrian, in his land. How's he going to break them? Give me Isaiah chapter 34, 4 and 5. About how the Lord is going to break Idumea in his land.
Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 4.
Read.
And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll.
And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. What is this talking about? Nuclear war. It's talking about a nuclear missile. That scroll is that mushroom cloud. Keep on.
And all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine.
Read.
And as a falling fig from the fig tree.
Read.
For my sword shall be bathed in heaven.
The sword is that missile, that nuke. Read.
Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea.
It shall come down upon who?
Idumea.
It shall come down upon Idumea. Read.
And upon the people of my curse to judgment.
This is how the Lord is going to break the Assyrian in his land. This is how he is going to break Idumea in his land. Missile. Go back to the book of Isaiah chapter 14. Read verse 25.
The book of Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 25. That I will break the Assyrian in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot.
Talking about the Assyrian, which is the Israeli. Read.
Then shall his yoke depart from off them.
Then shall his yoke depart from off them. Depart from off the Palestinians, yo. The Arab Palestinians. Read.
And his burden depart from off their shoulders.
His burden shall depart from off the shoulders of the Palestinians. Read.
This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth. And this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations.
Jump down to 29.
Verse 29. Rejoice not thou, O Palestinian.
When the yoke is broken, when the Assyrian, when Idumea is broken in his land, God told the Palestinians not to what?
Rejoice not thou, whole Palestinian.
He said, do not rejoice, Palestinia, which is Palestine, which you know they are going to rejoice because they're going to get a great victory. They're going to break the yoke of the Israelis from off their neck. But God told them, do not rejoice. Read.
Because the rod of him that smote thee is broken.
The rod of him that smote thee is broken. Talking about the Israeli. Read.
For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice.
Out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice. Read.
And its fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent.
That's a missile, yo. That's a missile. And the serpent's root is talking about the EU, the European Union, yo. They are going to bomb the hell out of Palestine. Read.
Verse 30. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety.
Read.
And I will kill thy root with famine.
He said, I'm going to kill thy root with famine. It's talking about his children. Read.
And he shall slay thy remnant.
And he's going to kill the remnant, those that remain. Read.
Howl, O gate. Cry, O city. Thou, whole Palestinian.
Read.
Art dissolved.
Thou, whole Palestinian, art dissolved. He is going to destroy Palestine, man. Palestine is going to be dissolved, meaning destroyed. Read.
For there shall come from the north a smoke.
And there shall come from the north a smoke. From the north, that's talking about the European Union, the EU. They are going to bomb the hell out of Palestine. Read.
And none shall be alone in his appointed time.
And none shall be alone in his appointed times, yo. In his appointed times. So the Arabs are going to get a victory. They're going to win the battle. But they're going to lose the war. Just like Israelis. They're going to win some battles. But overall, they are going to lose the war, yo. They are going to lose the war. Where am I at real quick so I can decide if I need to shut this down real quick? Let me know. Go back to 2nd Ezra 15 while the bro's looking at that. And read verse 33.
It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 33. And from the land of the Assyrians,
Israel,
shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them. And in their hosts shall be fear and dread, and strife among their kings.
And strife among their kings. Read the next verse.
Verse 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm.
So what we just read about was the conflict between Israelis and the Arab states, yo. And this conflict, these conflicts are going to lead to all-out world war. World War III. We're about to close out my last verse. Give me Luke chapter 21.
So basically, we got mayhem.
Mayhem. War is on the horizon, yo. War is on the horizon. It is not over yet. There's so much more to go. 21, and let's read verse 25 through 28.
The book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations.
Distress of nations, read.
With perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
The sea and the waves represent the nations. So when it says the sea and the waves roaring, what's happening? War. War. The nations are at war, read.
Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth.
Read.
For the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
You know what can shake the powers of the heavens? War. Missiles. That's what shakes the powers of the heavens. Read.
And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory.
Keep going.
And when these things begin to come to pass.
When you see these things come to pass, read.
Then look up.
Then you need to look up, read.
And lift your heads.
And lift up your heads, read.
For your redemption draweth nigh.
All of these things are happening for the redemption of the Israelites, man. Hey, you got anything you want to add, bro?
No.
Hey, well, with that, man, we're going to go ahead and end this thing in the same way we began this thing. And that's by giving all praises and all glory and all honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, through his only begotten Son. Secondly, we're going to give double honors to our elders again. Our elders rule well. Our elders are counted worthy of double honors. Our elders get their double honors. Thirdly, I want to say farewell to all of my brothers, all my sisters out there. I hope you got something out of this lesson. My name is Priest Lithiel Ben Israel.
And likewise, my name is Priest Ron Ben Israel. And like bro said, hopefully you found this class edifying. And if you want to find more about us, we're Holy Nation Israel.
You know why?
You can find us on Facebook as well as on Instagram under the name Holy Nation Israel. And you can find us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Straight Gate of Israel.
SGI 8586.
And you can find me, Priest Ron Ben Israel, on Facebook as well as on Instagram at Ron Ben Israel. And on Instagram, same thing, but lowercase and underscore between the two.
Hey, I'm on Instagram, Lithiel617. I'm on Facebook, Lithiel Ben Israel.
And when it comes to all our social media platforms, feel free to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment.
Hit that notification button. Stay updated on the latest content coming out on our channels.
Facts though. And why? Because, the enemies, they hate that. You want to know who the enemies are? You can read Psalms 83. But
Israelis, Palestinians. Chinese people.
White people.
Yeah, those go with the Israelis. All right, we shut this thing down, man. Shalom, Israel. Shalom.